Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of the Very Cold Lasagna podcast, your filthy casual place for all the filthy casual takes on the world of sports. I am DylanLasagna, your host, with another episode number 142 of this icy yet spicy podcast. Today, we got a good show for you all as we wrap up draft weekend coverage here on Very Cold Lasagna, as the NFL wasn't the only one that had a draft this past weekend. No. Because, well, the WWE decided to have one as well with the 2023 WWE Draft. I don't know why, I don't know how, but, well, they also decided to shake things up again, pal. Or at least we thought with this WWE Draft. But nonetheless, they decided to have a two-night WWE Draft this past weekend. And I'll get into my full thoughts on what I thought about it, what I didn't like about it, and all that good stuff in this episode. Before we get to the main topic of this episode, I'm feeling a lot better. My throat feels much better from the spring allergy suffering that I had to endure these past couple of days. But yeah, I do feel a lot better. I don't know if you could tell in the last episode where I talked about my 49ers and their draft process. It was struggling. It was definitely a struggle to talk in that episode. But nonetheless, I do feel a lot better. I can definitely talk much easier now than I did in the last episode. So that is good. Speaking of talking, speaking of episodes, make sure you go listen to Very Cold Lasagna wherever you get your podcast, be it YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast on whether watching me or listening to me on your audio platforms. Whether on the YouTube side, make sure you give a like, comment, share, subscribe. Give me all that good feedback with my episodes, my new segment, the Raw SmackDown, which is still in the trial period because, well, I'm still pondering whether I want to keep it going forward. I mean, I really appreciate all of you that are been watching it, especially those of you that aren't necessarily subscribed yet, but nonetheless, it's nice to garner in some new viewers. But anyway, make sure to share it with your friends, your family, a stranger, to a random person. You know the drill. Anyway, if you're listening to this on the audio side of things, make sure you rate and review the show wherever you're listening to it on your audio device. Definitely helps me try to improve the show, see where it can go, and try to, think forward and see what I can do to make some steps in improving the show. So as for the content that is coming up, and at least in the next couple days, weeks, honestly, not much. At least for like after this week, I do have a Backlash review planned when the show ends this weekend. So I'm going to be focusing my energy on that. Because of that, there will be no the Raw SmackDown segment for this week. As I mentioned in my Instagram story and in the last episode of Very Cold Lasagna. So if I do decide to keep doing the Raw SmackDown, that'll probably be the norm. There will probably not be the Raw SmackDown for the week of so-and-so before a pay-per-view on, let's say, a Saturday or Sunday. Just so I can focus my energy on reviewing said pay-per-view if I want to review that pay-per-view, if it's that important. So just keep that in mind. I'm probably not going to be doing the Raw SmackDown for this week. It'll resume next week, though, because especially next week will be an important week for WWE in terms of their shows and the format of their shows. So that being said, let's talk about these shows because, well, it's important. The WWE Draft happened on April 28th and May 1st. Yeah, a two-night event, pal. They decided to shake things up again for, well, reasons. United roster. It wasn't necessarily good, but the brand split, two rosters as it is right now. It's probably going to be a lot worse because, well, I'm just going to say right now, there aren't necessarily a lot of like valuable names, a lot of stars. Yeah, just not a lot of star power because, well, WWE hasn't booked them well. Hasn't like built them up properly to be the game changing, like significant stars that we've used to have. And they haven't put in the effort to do so. So I'm not sure necessarily why. We need to have another brand split right now. And what was the need for this? I guess the only thing I could think of, just judging off like speculative reports, is that because the networks were angry at them for having that united roster again. These like crossover carrying over these shows again. It's like, why? Like, don't you want the best of the best, like quality TV, like, or at least what do you think is quality TV? Not like what we're getting, Rematch of Mania each and every week. Like, isn't that what you wanted? USA Network and Fox? I don't know. I really don't know what they want. Like, I literally don't know what they want. But I guess the main concern was having 2 world champions again, because Roman Reigns wasn't showing up each week. So I guess that was the main point of this WWE draft, was to get 2 world champions and like an active world champion on one of the rosters. So I don't know. This draft, I mean, I don't know. There could have been easier ways to make the networks happy. They could have like merged some of the titles, build some better stars, and then there you go. But no, we just have to have another draft. I mean, I'm not necessarily against the draft if it's done right, if it has stars, but no, they don't. They don't. So anyway, let's get into the draft itself. Everyone on the roster was eligible to be drafted. The problem was, because it's 2 nights, they have to divide up the roster into like 2 draft pools, which again doesn't make any sense. It's like when they did the draft lottery, they did the draft lottery, the first draft lottery on 2 nights, I believe, before they switched it to 1 night. They did it. They had everybody eligible on both nights. Why are we having only half of the roster eligible on 1 night and then the other half the other? It doesn't make any sense. Plus, the big name stars are already eligible on the first night anyway. So it's like, what's the point of the second night? And you're just gonna get the jobbers. I guess the counterpoint there to that one argument is that, well, if you had everyone eligible on just 1 night, on that first night, it's like, well, same thing. Jobbers, second night. Still, could have been worse ways to do it. And this was definitely one of them. And then also, only select NXT wrestlers were available to be drafted. There are some names that I was at least keeping an eye on, like Braun Breaker, Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez in this draft. At least those 3 names that I was keeping an eye on to be drafted, because, they've been in NXT for like, 3 years now? It's like, and there really wasn't anywhere for them to go in terms of their storylines. They already done what they could. And then the last note Triple H had, and probably the most important one, is that the brand splits takes effect the Raw after Backlash. So May 8th. So this Monday. So it's like, really, the Raw after a pay-per-view. Like, we're really not going to wait on this shit. Again, to my point, why couldn't we have waited like after Night of Champions or after SummerSlam to do a draft? If they really want to enforce this brand split, like, why do they have to be in a hurry to do this? Like, doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense, man. Like, why they really have to enforce this, especially the World Heavyweight Championship. Like, don't get me started again on the World Heavyweight Championship. Why do they have to rush this out? I don't get it. They're trying to Amazon Prime this shit. Really doesn't make any sense. So anyway, we get to the actual draft itself. We begin with night 1 of the draft. We begin with round 1. And since they like to do this NFL draft style, we're going to do each and every pick, treating it like an NFL draft. Okay? Okay. So each round had about like 4 picks. And, well, we're going to treat it like a continuous round. Okay? So for round 1, and at least they made the logical pick in this draft. probably one of the only ones, and that was, well, the Bloodline going number 1 overall. And they're staying on SmackDown. Yeah, you had a lot of staying in this draft. And interesting note, though, at least for this one, the Bloodline only had Roman Reigns, Solo Sikoa, and Paul Heyman grouped together. So, so going into that night, you had at least a theme of, oh, are the Usos going to go stay with them on SmackDown, or are they going to go to Raw? So at least it creates some intrigue in that first overall pick. And what's going to happen to the Usos, considering that they were going to challenge Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens to the Undisputed Tag Team titles again later in the night. So, a little bit, some intrigue in that that first pick. And then you had the second pick with Cody Rhodes staying on Monday Night Raw. So no surprise there. But it also brings up the idea, the fact that, now he can't challenge Roman anymore. So not necessarily, because there's one different avenue that they could go, Money in the Bank. And then he can use this cash in on Roman at SummerSlam. And if not that, then I really hope they don't do this. The Royal Rumble, like, why? Why do we have to do this John Cena-ish 2012 run, like, and on the road to WrestleMania 40 in Philadelphia? Like, come on, man. We don't need a retread of that redemption storyline. It's like, it's too predictable. It really is. Like, yeah, it's very sensible. It makes sense that Cody Rhodes is on Raw, but if he's not going to win the World Heavyweight Championship, then yeah, write in a way to have him win Money in the Bank. Yeah, it could be a waste of a pick, but at least it leads him back to Roman on SmackDown. Maybe. Then this is where things get really stupid. The Raw Women's Champion, Bianca Belair. Yes. Whip your hair back and forth is going back to SmackDown when she's the Raw Women's Champion. Huh? Like, so we're really going to do this title swap, this championship exchange again. So that was the big obvious indicator that barring some trade that was going to be made, Rhea Ripley was going to go to Raw. Or stay on Raw with the SmackDown Women's Championship. Like, don't they remember the last time they did a championship exchange? Charlotte Flair literally threw the championship on Becky's feet. Like, these championship exchanges are so lazy. They're so stupid. They don't do anything for anybody. It's just lazy writing. Like, can't they just keep Bianca on Raw, and keep Rhea Ripley or have Rhea Ripley go to SmackDown? It's so dumb. It's so dumb. Or better than that, unify the titles. Unify the branded women's titles. Now I hear these reports that, they're gonna rename the women's championships for both brands. I mean, if that's the case, then okay, I'm not totally against it. But if they're just gonna do this stupid championship exchange on Monday after Backlash, if Bianca retains, it's dumb. It's really stupid. I really hope that they don't do that, because if they do, oh man, my interest for either one of them is like already down as it is, like non-existent as it is. But it's like, it's just lazy. It's really dumb for them. Then with the 4th overall pick, Becky Lynch is staying on Raw. I mean, just goes to show you that SmackDown doesn't value her at all anymore. Then we get to round 2 of the draft. With the 5th overall pick, Angelo Dawkins and Montez Ford of the Street Profits are going back to SmackDown. So, I mean, I wasn't surprised there, considering that, well, Montez Ford is married to Bianca in real life, so they were going to follow suit. They're still following that couple rule. Same thing with Becky earlier. Maybe if Becky was going to stay on Raw, then probably Seth was going to stay on Raw as well later on. With the 6th overall pick in the WWE Draft, Imperium, Intercontinental Champion Gunther, Ludwig Kaiser, and Giovanni Vinci are going to Raw. Damn, we're going to miss Gunther on SmackDown, man. But, I actually like this move. It gives Gunther a fresh start on the red brand. Hopefully they give him some new challengers over there. But then you know that what that means. Friday nights, yeah, Fox gets to suffer the torture of one Austin Theory. Man, what a downgrade that is. And then at number 7, 7th overall, Edge is going back to SmackDown. So, hey, at least some star power. And they can go back to that rivalry between Edge and Roman Reigns if he's still world champion by that point. And then with the 8th overall pick, Matt Riddle is staying on Raw. I mean, okay, I guess. When we're going on to round 3 with night 1 of the draft. With the 9th overall pick, Bobby Lashley is going to SmackDown. This is a good move for that WWE made, booking Bobby Lashley to go to SmackDown because he's pretty much done everything he could. He's been on Raw since he came back to WWE back in I think it's 2018. So him being on SmackDown for the first time since his rookie year 2006, I think it's a good idea. Gives him a fresh start. Aside from constantly feuding with Austin Theory, who later on would be revealed to be going to SmackDown inevitably, but he at least has a fresh start. He can see some fresh faces, but potentially finally challenge Roman Reigns for the title over there as well. So this is a good move. At least one of the good moves in this draft. And then with the 10th overall pick, Drew McIntyre is going back to Raw. I know there's been a lot of speculation regarding his status right now. Is he unhappy? Which I call total bullshit on. I mean, guys, he's been carrying the load a lot, man. He's been he's been going hardcore these last 2 years. So I do believe that he is going through this back soreness, if those reports are correct. So if he is, then yeah, it totally is understandable why he is resting up, because he does want to come back for this maybe tweener-ish heel run, because so far Raw hasn't had a lot of heels go there aside from Gunther. And yeah, be one of those challengers for the new World Heavyweight Championship. So, and being drafted in the top 10, it's still in the belief that WWE thinks highly of him. And then with the 11th overall pick, WWE booked the OC, AJ Styles, Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, and Mia Yim to go to SmackDown. So WWE SmackDown, at least gets a little bit of star power back. At least just AJ Styles, not Luke Gallows, Carl Anderson, and Mia Yim. AJ Styles goes back to the house that he built, or the house that he assisted as well. So yeah, so far SmackDown is getting a lot of star power with Bobby Lashley, Roman Reigns, Edge. Now you have AJ Styles, in a sense. So yeah, you already got 3 potential challengers for Roman Reigns. Depending on if Edge sticks around for a little longer. So, I'd say so far SmackDown has pretty much won the draft. Man, WWE, don't you care about your main show that's been around for 30 years? Holy crap. And then with the 12th overall pick, The Miz is staying on Raw. Why? Why waste a pick on The Miz? And why make it a big deal? I don't care. Then we get to round 4 in the final round of the night 1 of the WWE draft. With the 13th overall pick, Damage Control, Bayley, Dakota Kai, and Io Sky. Yes, they're going back to SmackDown. Why? This is another pick that didn't make any sense. Why would you keep Damage Control together? Wouldn't it make more sense to split Bayley from Dakota and Io? Wasn't that the more logical move? Aren't they teasing dissension? Aren't they teasing dissension, pal? Going into Io Sky's match against Bianca at Backlash for a Raw Women's title that's on SmackDown now? It doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't. I don't know why they're not teasing these splits like before, like, or doing these splits during the draft. This isn't like they did it with the New Day. Well, not technically, but they did it before. I don't know why they're not doing it now. I don't know. It would have made more sense for Bayley to go to SmackDown and Dakota Ito to stay on Raw. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know what their thinking process is. Meanwhile, with the 14th overall pick, Shinsuke Nakamura is going to Raw. So much for his feud with Karrion Kross. That's probably going to be a one-off this coming Friday on SmackDown. The 15th overall pick, the final two picks for night one saw some NXT call-ups. And this was kind of baffling. The NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, Alba Fire and Isla Dawn, are going to SmackDown. Now, I don't care so much about the two wrestlers going to SmackDown. I mean, at least kind of boosters up their women's division. I mean, if they're promoted, I guess. But what baffles me is that they're bringing the women's tag team championships with them from NXT, a developmental brand. Like, why? Like, and they clearly stated on this past Tuesday's episode NXT that they're going to be defending it on all three brands. Like, huh? Like, don't they watch the main shows? Don't they know that Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez are the tag team champions, the WWE women's tag team champions? Huh? Like, what is going on here? What is this disconnect? So, that being said, like, what's the point of having these NXT Women's Tag Team Championships now, when you literally don't have when you literally took your tag team champions away from the developmental brand, and just doing a little bit of research, there are very little to none tag teams left in NXT, women's tag teams in NXT. So why even have them? Why even have them? But I'll get to a later point on these NXT Women's Tag Team Championships and what I think WWE should do with them. And then with the final pick on the main show, the 16th overall pick, NXT Women's Champion Indy Hartwell is going to Raw. So yeah, pretty much all your women's champions at the time are going to the main roster. Indy Hartwell is going to Raw. She did suffer a pretty bad leg injury during her last title defense against Roxanne Perez and Tiffany Stratton. And, you know, if she, like, recently, she vacated the title either because she's going to be on Raw now, or because the injury was very bad, or both. But either way, like, WWE should have called an audible, had Tiffany Stratton win the belt. But I know Stratton probably doesn't want to win it right now because she wants to work on her craft. I saw that interview. I read that interview with Tiffany Stratton, like, very humble individual. I like that kind of attitude about her. So it kind of makes sense why she probably didn't want to win it right away. So they were probably like, how do we approach that title match? So they probably had an injury. They had to have an injured Indy Hartwell win that match. So that kind of sucked. But nonetheless, you know, Indy Hartwell, I mean, I don't really know or care too much about her. But good that she's going to the main roster, I guess. But we'll see how her opportunities are over there. So we get to some extra picks on their post show, the SmackDown Lowdown over the weekend. With the 17th pick, 17th, 18th, and 19th pick, the Raw picked the Viking Raiders, Eric Ivar Valhalla, Dexter Lumis, Candice LeRae. So Indy Hartwell, you know, the way is slowly coming back together with Lumis, Candice LeRae, yeah, and Indy Hartwell reuniting again. And then, with the 20th pick, Raw also got the Max male models, Mace, Mansoor, Maxine Dupree. Okay. And then the 21st and 22nd pick saw Shit Row, Top Dollar, Ashante Adonis, and B-Fab, and Lacey Evans all stay on SmackDown. So, yeah. Oh, they're all staying on SmackDown, guys. Like, literally, that's pretty much all this draft has been. Like either they're staying on whatever brand they were on already, or they're just, some of these wrestlers are just swapping brands. Like, come on, man. Where's the surprises and all that? And if there is a surprise, it's not necessarily a good one. Jeez. Like, if I'm coming off as negative right now, it's like, I'm just being honest. I mean, honest, like, if you were to watch this WWE draft, like, all these picks, there's literally a video WWE released, like, every pick of the 2023 draft. Like, you would question yourself, too. Like, what is this? What is this? Like, where's the logic in this? You're probably, like, you're probably, like, if you're, like, whether you're an Atlanta Falcons fan or a Detroit Lions fan, you may be thinking to yourself, like, why did I pick a running back in the draft? Or maybe you're a Niner fan. Like, why did I pick a kicker with our third round pick in the draft? It's probably you're thinking that process. This is how I'm thinking with this overall WWE draft right now. So anyway, continuing on with the supplemental picks, the rest of these are raw picks. With the 23rd pick, Natalia's going to Raw, and a lot of other NXT call-ups. With the 24th pick, Apollo Crews is going back to the main roster. He was in NXT for a little while. He's going from NXT to Raw. Chelsea Green and Sonya Deville are going to Monday Night Raw with the 25th pick. Tony Stark from NXT. I don't know who she is. She's going from NXT to Raw. And then last but not least, JD McDonough. Who's that? Is going from NXT to Raw. So a lot of jobbers in the supplemental draft were drafted to the main roster. And then, of course, you can't have a draft without undrafted free agents, just like in the NFL. Omos, Mustafa Ali, and Von Wagner were all deemed undrafted at the end of night one. Although, they gave some reasoning. They gave some reasoning for Omos. Now, unlike with the other free agents where, they can appear on both shows for a little while, Omos had this special deal. MVP negotiated that, he can appear on both shows because he's Omos. He got a special deal to be a free agent. Like, what the fuck? Why? Like, what? How does that make any sense? But I don't know. Like, it's bullshit wrestling. I don't know why I'm getting this pissed about it. But anyway, overall for night one, I mean, I'd say SmackDown looks a little bit more watchable, like barely, because they got more star power with Roman Reigns, AJ Styles, Edge, Bobby Lashley, and more importantly, at least you have 3 legit challengers for Roman Reigns already. Maybe 2 if Edge probably retired, like doesn't show up anytime soon. But as for the women's division, like, I mean, I don't really care for this this modern women's wrestling, but I just feel like it's just being swapped over from Raw. Again, at the time, my thinking was barring a trade, because it's just gonna feel like the same shit since we've seen in 2020. It literally is just gonna be Bianca versus Bayley again, alongside the NXT Women's Tag Team Champions, which again makes no sense, and Bayley's Splatoon girls. Which, by the way, again, a massive missed opportunity to split them up from Bayley to keep playing up this dissension between the 3 going to Backlash. So it literally made no sense. I can't speak too much on the tag team division because, well, again, there's still night 2 to address, especially considering the main event where Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens beat the Usos to retain their titles. So big storyline implications for the former 9-time tag team champions, the Usos. And what was their draft fate going to be? How was Roman going to respond via phone, via Paul Heyman's advocacy? How are the Usos going to be punished on night 2 of the draft? So we'll get to that in a bit. So as for night 2 of the draft, it was much of the same draft rules. There were just 2 different things from Triple H. Pretty much Brock Lesnar got the almost deal. He renegotiated his deal so he can stay a free agent. So unlike with almost, Brock Lesnar being a free agent makes sense because it's Brock Lesnar. That's all I can literally say. It's Brock Lesnar. He's a marketable mainstream name at this point that he doesn't need to be tied to one show or the other. Sure, he mainly shows up on Raw, but he's also been on SmackDown too, feuding with Roman. So it makes sense for Brock to be a free agent. This is like the only exception I can give for this inexplicable free agent rule. And then last but not least, anyone that remains undrafted will be assigned a show by next week. So basically, the Raw after Backlash is going to be the hard deadline. Well, like anyone undrafted that doesn't have that free agency exception that Brock and almost have, they're going to be assigned a show. Again, like how does this make sense? I don't know. So we continue on with the actual draft itself. Round 5 or round 1 of that night. Round 5 saw Rhea Ripley get picked first with the 28th overall pick. The SmackDown Women's Champion is going to Raw, or staying on Raw, actually. She was originally on Raw before she won the SmackDown Women's title. Again, how does this make any sense? Like, why are we having a SmackDown champion go to Raw? Why are we having a Raw champion go to SmackDown? Are they really going to do this title exchange crap after Raw? And not only that, like, I mean, I really don't care for Bianca Belair, but isn't she on the verge of breaking Becky Lynch's like longest reign as Raw Women's Champion? And they're literally gonna like ruin that. Like, really? I don't know, man. Like, again, I don't care, but it's just something to point out. But again, like, unless they bring in these rumored new titles to get rid of the specific branding on the SmackDown Raw Women's titles, this shit makes no sense. Then with the 29th overall pick, Austin Theory, the U.S. champion, as expected, is going to SmackDown. So great. Yeah. What a downgrade, like I said, from going from Gunther, bringing a banger, to SmackDown. Now we get lame-ass Austin Theory on Friday nights in the mid-card scene. And then with the 30th overall pick, a lot of staying. Seth Rollins is staying on Raw. I mean, not surprised, considering Becky is staying on Raw. But yeah, Seth Rollins is likely going to be your top babyface, a top contender for the World Heavyweight Championship. So yeah, great. 31st overall pick, Charlotte Flair staying on SmackDown. We haven't seen her since WrestleMania, but expect her fully to be one of the top challengers for Bianca Belair for the SmackDown or whatever championship Bianca's going to hold come after Backlash. Then we get to round 6 of the NFL. Again, this idea of WWE trying to be like the NFL draft. I'll get into my full thoughts on that. The undisputed WWE Tag Team Champions Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn are going to Raw. So pretty much, I guess their feud with the Bloodline's going to be over after the draft. But how is this like tag team title situation going to be after Backlash is over? Because again, they're called the undisputed tag team championship, tag team champions, but it's like, you know, they also have the Raw and SmackDown championships. So are they going to get one of them taken away from them or something? Maybe they go back to the World Tag Team and the WWE Tag Team Championships. I don't know. Either way, something to think about. And also, like, do they even have the tag teams to back up these split titles? Certainly, I don't think so. And then this is where things also get really dumb with this next pick. The 33rd overall pick, the Usos are staying on SmackDown. Like, why? Why? Like, I thought they were going to play this out. I thought they were just going to drag this out. You know, wasn't it made more sense for Roman Reigns, call up Paul Heyman, rig up the draft, pal. Hey, wise man, let's rig up the draft. Let's call up Fox. Let's call up USA and send the Usos to Raw. Like, I'm tired of the Usos failing us and dragging us down. Let's send them over to Raw. So, like, wouldn't that make more sense? The Usos going over to Raw as punishment for losing to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn, and then Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens staying on SmackDown? Wouldn't that have made more sense than vice versa? What I'm just curious, because this certainly doesn't. I guess the Usos are gonna face their punishment on Roman Reigns, from Roman Reigns, I guess. And then they're gonna be all one happy family again. Like, man, just like, can we just get to the part where the Usos just get punished already? Like, I think we dragged it on a little bit enough already. Like, I'm just waiting. I'm just really getting to the point. I say, like, man, it's getting interesting, but man, this could have been an interesting plot hole where the Usos get drafted to Raw, and then face punish like that as their punishment. But I don't know why they didn't do it. I don't know why. And then with the 34th overall pick, the rest of the Judgment Day, so Finn Balor, Damian Priest, and Dominic Mysterio, they're all staying on Raw, so no surprise there because Rhea Ripley's there. And then the 35th overall pick, the LWO, the Latino World Order, or as I like to call them, the Loser World Order, because sadly they've been losing a lot, and I like them. Rey Mysterio, Santos Escobar, Cruz del Toro, Joaquin Wilde, and Selena Vega, they're staying on SmackDown. So pretty much, again, this X team or X wrestler staying shit. Like, come on, man. Isn't the draft supposed to be like shaking things up? This hasn't been like that for like half of these picks, in not a lot of team breakups and all that. So this feels like a lot of wasted picks from USA and Fox. Again, I'm just trying to think of it from like a creative team standpoint. It's like, man, this feels like a lot of wasted picks. If I was like a team general manager, like, what are we doing here? So we get to round 7, and well, considering how they were stacking up the SmackDown Women's division, I feared this was going to happen. With the first pick in round 7 and the 36th overall pick in the 2023 NFL Draft, the women's tag team champions, Raquel Rodriguez and more specifically Liv Morgan, are going to Raw. So I necessarily, in my opinion, like, don't get me wrong, I know a lot of people are not fans of Liv Morgan, especially after her SmackDown Women's title run was poorly booked and all that stuff. But, you know, I've seen Liv Morgan improve throughout the year, throughout the last year. She's been in these like crazy matches. Sure, she seems a little slow in the ring, but her in-ring skill has gotten improved. She takes a lot of risk. Like, she actually has a lot of tag team chemistry with Raquel. I mean, I don't mind, like, it seems pretty cool. And the one thing that I'd really like for her to work on is her mic skills. Like, it seems a little too overly scripted. And I really thought they were going to take her, like, crazy chick, extreme character after Extreme Rules, like, to the limit, like, to heights or something. But they never really did. I don't know why. They just didn't really push it. They just threw her back into a tag team. But anyway, it would have been a little bit more nicer to have Liv Morgan stay on SmackDown. But considering that you already had Bianca, you already had Bayley, you already had especially Charlotte, I guess it makes more sense. I guess it makes more sense to put her back on Raw. But then again, you have Rhea Ripley and Becky, two top faces of WWE, when you really have like your MVP. Like there was an interesting fact that Liv Morgan has competed in the most, like, is the women's wrestler that has competed in the most matches in WWE. I mean, I'm not trying to like be a defender or as like people like to call it, simp, but like, come on, man. Like, I know she's not the greatest in the ring or and all that, but come on. Like, come on, she could definitely use improvement, but like she's definitely one of their biggest players. Just as long as she shows some improvement, like in terms of the mic skills and some other in-ring aspects. But I definitely feel like she's come along compared to where she was earlier in her career. And she is for the people. She is for the people. Again, not trying to be your biggest defender, but I do think Liv Morgan has some more potential that she can tap into. But anyway, I think she is the third top babyface on Raw, behind Becky. Sadly. Anyway, also with the fact, they're carrying the women's tag team championships with them to Raw, and then you have the NXT women's tag team champions Alba Fire and Isla Dawn on SmackDown. So it's like, what the hell are you gonna do here? I really hope they don't like make these tag team titles exclusive to both brands. Like, you have one tag team titles for one brand, one women's tag team titles for the other brand. Like, don't do that bullshit, because there are there are not enough teams to supplement that. Like, even at the end of this draft, there are not enough teams to supplement like two women's tag team titles. You barely have enough teams to supplement one. Like, why do we need two? Like, having the NXT women's tag team titles was already a bad idea to begin with. So my idea is, like, since Alba Fire and Isla Dawn already won on NXT on Tuesday, have them start a feud with Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez and come together for a unification match at Night of Champions. Winner becomes the undisputed women's tag team champions. And then eventually it'll merge into just the women's tag team champions. And then they travel across all three brands. If there's an NXT women's tag division by then. But that's just my thought process. So anyway, continuing on with draft picks. The 37th pick in the 2023 draft, Asuka is going back to SmackDown. So, yeah. This women's division is getting stacked on SmackDown. I'm not sure how Asuka's going to fit in, considering you already have Bianca. Bianca, Charlotte, Bayley. Yeah, a lot of charisma vacuums there. But still, like, considering some of these hardcore fans think they're stars, I mean, not sure how Asuka's going to try to fit in there. With the 38th overall pick, the Raw selects the New Day, Kofi Kingston, Xavier Woods, so still no Big E, which is unfortunate for them. With the 39th pick in the 2023 draft, the Brawling Brutes, Sheamus, Butch, Ridge Holland are staying on SmackDown, so I guess it's good for them to stay there. And yeah, especially good that if Sheamus can be a challenger to Roman for the undisputed title. It's just so unfortunate though that, again, he's not going to be able to challenge for the Intercontinental title and potentially dethrone Gunther. I do think if anyone was going to dethrone Gunther, it could have been Sheamus. It really could have. But they just took that away from him again. Oh, well. Maybe take the title off of Austin Theory. How about that? Consolation prize, ladies and gentlemen. Take the U.S. title away from Austin Theory by having Sheamus beat him. Because I hate Austin Theory. Then we get to round 8 of the 2023 draft. With the 40th pick, Raw selected Trish Stratus. Even though Trish Stratus was already on Raw. But then again, why was Trish Stratus even eligible for the draft? When she's a Hall of Famer, a legend. It really didn't make any sense. Brock Lesnar was eligible for the draft, but he was a free agent. But yet Trish Stratus was selected for Raw. Huh? How does that make any sense? I don't know, man. A lot of this draft was very illogical. With the 41st pick in the draft, Karrion Kross and Scarlett are staying on SmackDown. I do hope that with this brand split, one positive that hopefully comes out of this is that they try to like rebuild Karrion Kross. With the 42nd pick, Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler are going back to Raw. So that could be bad news in the sense of storylines for Liv Morgan. I mean, I like both Liv and Ronda Rousey, but you know how that feud turned out, and some of the comments made by Ronda Rousey on her vlog. Like, I think it was like a month and a half ago. But either way, I mean, I like them both. It's just like in the sense of storyline, you know what that means for Liv Morgan. With the 43rd overall pick, LA Knight is staying on SmackDown. I mean, there are some things I like, some things I don't like about LA Knight. I'm pretty neutral on him. Maybe he can be a solid mid-card player for them. I think he does get overlooked at times. With in the second and final round of the WWE Draft, with the 44th overall pick, Braun Strowman and Ricochet are going back to Raw. So, all right. I mean, if they stay as a team, they can help bolster up the tag team division. With the 45th pick, Shotzi Blackheart is staying on SmackDown. So, yeah. Okay. The 46th pick, Bronson Reed is staying on Raw. So maybe he can be a potential challenger for Gunther for the IC title if he turns as a babyface. I doubt it, though. Or maybe, like, I don't think Bronson Reed is ready for the world title picture yet. Maybe if they, like, put him on a winning streak, I don't know. Like, at least the good thing, like, the one positive they're doing with Bronson Reed is, like, showcasing him in vignettes, like, in promos. Like, at least introducing the audience, like, who he is, somewhat. And it's not, like, really much of an explanation, but at least showcasing, like, oh, this is Bronson Reed. Like, they're at least trying with him. With the 47th pick, Elton Prince and Kit Wilson of Pretty Deadly are going from NXT to SmackDown. I don't know who they are. I don't care who they are. With the 10th round of the draft, starting with the 48th pick in the final round, Otis and Chad Gable at Alpha Academy are staying on Raw, and rightfully so. It's a pretty solid team with Otis and Chad Gable. You know, they're pretty funny. With the 49th pick, Rick Boogs is staying on SmackDown, jobber pick. And the final picks, just like on night one, are NXT picks of this round. With the 50th pick in the 2023 WWE Draft, from NXT, Katana Chance and Kaden Carter are going to Raw. So again, at the time, people were questioning, like, why are literally two teams that were fighting each other for the NXT Women's Tag Titles going up to the main roster. And this team actually lost to the tag team champions. So it's like, why are we doing this? Like, what was the point in calling them up to the main roster? Especially the women's tag team champions, Alba Fire, Isla Dawn. So it makes no sense. But hey, at least for Chance and Carter, you know, they're going to the main roster. And who knows if they're even going to challenge whoever's going to be the women's tag team champions by that point. With the 51st overall pick and the final pick on the main TV show, Cameron Grimes is your final pick, going from NXT to SmackDown. Yeah, that's your, like, not necessarily yet your Mr. Irrelevant, but yeah. So we had some extra picks on Raw Talk, their post show for Raw. 3 picks from 52nd to 54th. You had Dana Brooke, Nikki Cross, and Johnny Gargano all staying on Raw. So, yeah, staying on Raw. So Johnny Gargano gets to reunite with Candice LeRae, Dexter Lumis, and Indy Hartwell. So they get to reform the way. That stable in NXT nobody cares or knows about. With the 55th pick, Tamina Snuka is staying on SmackDown. Yeah, like, we all remember Tamina Snuka. And with picks 56 through 62nd, you got like a bunch of picks for Raw. Los Lotharios, Angel Garza, and Humberto Carrillo, Akira Tozawa, Piper Niven, Xia Li, Tegan Knox, Emma, and Riddick Moss. Jobber picks, all going to Raw from wherever they came or stayed from. Don't care. The 63rd pick in this draft, in this year, a stable led by Jinder Mahal, Veer Mahan, and Singha. They're going promoted from NXT back to Raw. And then with the 64th pick, Odyssey Jones goes from NXT back to Raw. Not back to Raw. He is actually getting promoted. from NXT to Raw. And then the final pick, the Mr. Irrelevant of this WWE Draft 2023 is Grayson Waller. Well, at least it's a solid pick to end the overall WWE Draft. Grayson Waller from NXT is getting promoted to SmackDown. So, I mean, at least with Grayson Waller, from the clips I've seen of him, like on Twitter, like whenever I'm like scrolling, even though he's 33, which is like, damn, he's in NXT, like he's in developmental, he at least presents something to the table, but hopefully he gets to take advantage of it because, he doesn't have much of a lifespan left with this in-ring career. I mean, maybe he does if he could say, if he prolongs it a bit. But yeah, not a bad pick to end the overall draft. And then, of course, you have the undrafted free agents from night 2, Baron Corbin. I'm pretty sure they'll try to play up a storyline with that again, with Baron. Then you have Shelton Benjamin, Cedric Alexander, Zion Quinn, and Elias. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Your 2023 WWE Draft. I could give any single fucks about this because, well, just like the last times they did this NFL draft style format in 2019 when they started doing it. They did it like informally in 2016, but they really pushed it hard in 2019 because, well, WWE was on Fox and they tried so hard to be like the NFL. It felt like an absolute waste of time. There was no unpredictability, no surprises. Like, I really thought that they were going to at least try to play up the fact that some of these teams were going to break up because it would have made sense for at least the Bloodline, like sending the Usos to Raw, punishment for losing their tag team rematch to Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. And then for Damage Control, for much as I don't give a shit about Bayley Splatoon girls, they have this storyline where they're teasing breaking up. And then they should have reinforced it with Bayley going to SmackDown and Dakota Kai and Io Shirai or Io Sky getting drafted to Raw. I don't know why they didn't play up that. I don't know why they were so dead set on keeping everybody together. Like, it made more sense with the couples and all that in real life, but in the sense of the storylines, like, they should have split up like at least 2 of these teams. And then title swap, it is pretty much either like, oh, let's just move some of these wrestlers to one brand or keep them on the other or just keep them where they are. And then, of course, title swap city. Yeah, we're getting a championship exchange, ladies and gentlemen, between Rhea Ripley and Bianca Belair or Io Sky if she's the champion by Backlash. So I'm not happy about that at all. And I'm just not happy with how this draft panned out. It felt like a total waste of time. Like, I don't know why, like, it just feels like it's like a slog. It feels like a slog. It feels like they just want to get through it. Because at least with the NFL draft, you feel the anticipation. You feel the surprise of like, oh, what is the Carolina Panthers going to pick at number 1 overall? Or what is the Seahawks going to pick at number 5? With the NFL draft, it's just like, oh, we already know where they're going to go. They're going to go to this brand. Oh, WWE's going to put them on this brand and sort. Like, if you're going to try to be like the NFL draft, like, at least kind of emulate it. Like have panelists in the ring. Like, have a moderator in the ring. Have like 4 other like wrestler, like Hall of Famers next, like in between that analyst. Sure, it can be boring. Just like hearing them talk, like giving them live mics and all that, like trying to analyze, oh, what should Raw do? What should SmackDown do to for their next pick and all that? But if you're trying to be like the NFL draft, you got to do it. You got to do it. And then if you really want to try to be like the NFL draft, give Raw and SmackDown time to pick. Like, you only get like 2 or 5 minutes for round 1. You only get like 3 minutes for the rest of the round, or 2 minutes for the rest of the rounds. I'm trying to throw out ideas for you all, WWE. Like, if you really want to try so hard to be like the NFL or NBA draft, like, come on, it's not hard. And if you really don't if you really can't do this NFL draft style format, go back to the draft lottery. Like, this draft made me realize how much I missed the draft lottery of old, back in 2004 to 2000. I think like 2011 when they had the draft lottery, because at least with the draft lottery, you felt that sense of like suspense. You felt that sense of surprise where absolutely nobody, not the fans, not the wrestlers, knew where they were going until the very last tick of the announcement from the GM. And then when they started doing the selection, the randomized selection screen in 2005 or 2007, you felt that suspense. You felt that surprise. Like, oh shoot, where am I gonna go? And then when they got to the WWE Draft logo and then they showed the wrestler, then you knew where they were gonna go. You don't get that nowadays. You just get a passing mention. So overall, it just felt like, the draft. I thought the draft was supposed to shake things up for WWE, not just switch things over from one show to the other. Because now when you look at it, some of these wrestlers that got drafted are just going to be retreading the same rivalries on a different show. Like, look, Bayley and Bianca are going to be on SmackDown again. Liv Morgan and Ronda Rousey are going to be on Raw again. And Austin Theory and Lashley are going to be on SmackDown again. Again, example of rivals going to be on the same, renewed, just on a different show. Again, I thought this draft was supposed to be shaking things up, keeping certain wrestlers away from each other in terms of storyline. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. And when you look at it from a roster perspective, SmackDown definitely won. It's like they have a little bit more star power with Roman, AJ, Rey Mysterio, Edge, Bobby Lashley. And if you build up a couple more players like Grayson Waller, Karrion Kross, they definitely won this draft. Like, they definitely won this draft. Like, what does Raw have to offer? Like, Drew McIntyre, if you will build him up. And obviously right now, Gunther is the top dog. Trish Stratus, Liv Morgan, Ronda Rousey. But other than those people I just mentioned, where's the star power on Raw? Where is it? I don't know, man. Overall, if you were to look at like a video WWE released on their YouTube channel, looking at every pick from this draft, you're thinking like, what the fuck are they doing? Like, why am I wasting time watching this? Because I would say the same thing to you. Like, why are you wasting your time watching this? Why are you using your sanity on this? So overall, I did not like how WWE did this draft. It was questionable. There was no surprises. A wasted opportunity for a lot of reasons. And if they're gonna keep doing it, just try to mix it. Try to like emulate it. Try to emulate the NFL draft. And if you're not gonna try, go back to the old format. Go back to the old format of the draft lottery. Because basically all this is basically a waste of time. And all this was just swapping wrestlers to another show and keeping the same rivalries on a different show. That's all it is. So, yeah, I'd like to know your thoughts on this WWE Draft 2023. Did you guys think it was as lame as I thought it was? Or somehow, surprisingly, you guys thought it was good or decent? I'd like to know your thoughts in the comments below on YouTube, or a message on social media via Twitter or Instagram at Very Cold Lasagna. But anyway, that is it for this episode of Very Cold Lasagna, episode number 142 of this icy yet spicy podcast. And as always, keep that lasagna very cold in the fridge with your takes on the world of sports. And stay tuned for another episode later in the week, hopefully with the WWE Backlash review coming up. And then after that, who knows what's to come. Anyway, this is DylanLasagna signing out of another episode. And until next time, peace out.